Tetap Good afternoon, Meelan ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone there. Good afternoon, Dr. Devyanshu. So this
Good
is the first time
afternoon.
we are
How are
talking to
you?
each other.
Yes, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you here, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, and I hope everyone is fine there.
Yes, ma'am. Everybody is fine. And sir told me about your health. I hope that you are recovered now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, we'll be starting within next 5 to 7 minutes. And the
Fine.
moderator for today's session is Mr. Rishi Bhargav. He's an assistant professor, young academician starting off his career at Faculty of Law, Jagran Lake City University. Rishi,
Okay.
if you can unmute and just greet ma'am so that she can
Hello there.
yeah, so Rishi's there, ma'am, and he'll be moderating today's session. All the participants, I welcome you all today in day six of the refresher course. We'll be with our resource person for the session has already joined. We'll start with the session in next 5 to 7 minutes. Meenal ma'am, I hope that's fine. And I also
Okay,
greeted
and
you so that we can have a good audio and a video check. We've also assigned you with the share rights on the PPTs. So if you want to check it as well,
okay.
we can just have a
I
quick
just
check
wanted
as
to
well.
check that, yeah, whether the PPT is okay. So let me just have it, whether this is
Yes,
there or
ma'am.
not.
Yes,
Ah,
ma'am. And by the time
is
any of the
it?
other participants, ma'am, it is not yet, but yeah, we can, it's visible, ma'am. It's visible, ma'am. So I guess both the audio visual as well as your PPT is perfectly visible for us.
Fine. Hmm.
Perfect, ma'am. Rishi, I'll just give you a heads go before we
Yes,
start.
yes.
Okay. Uh, Rishi sir, we are good to go.
Okay, okay. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Rishi Bhargav, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Law, Jagran Lake City University, would like to welcome you all in this 15 days online refresher course on new age teaching methods and skill in higher education, organized by Jagran Lake City University Bhopal and Right Panel Group, a unit of Arjun Das Gulati Memorial Society, Prayagraj, in collaboration with Guru Angad Dev Training Learning Center, Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, National Mission on Teachers and Teaching, Ministry of Education, Government of India. Again, a very heartfelt welcome to all the participants, and most importantly, to our resource person for today's session, Dr. Meenal Bafna ma'am. Ma'am will give her valuable inputs on the topic Steps for Effective Research Writing and Reporting. Ma'am is currently serving as head Department of Physics at Agrawal PG College, Jaipur. She has been an effective pedagogue for various colleges of Rajasthan since January 1998. During her entire teaching career of last 25 years, she has been bestowed with various administrative as well as managerial responsibilities as convener and member in various committees apart from teaching students. In these years, she has been several times entrusted with the opportunity to establish laboratories, design and coordinate the session and guide number of students towards excellence. Her research passion has led to successfully guide 4 research scholars for their PhD degree attainment at present and has 2 research scholars are working in her guidance. She has been awarded 4 times as Best Paper Presenter Award by national level organizations like DAE and NASI India. She has delivered several invited lectures, been session chairs, and an advisory board of various conferences. Ma'am has authored 27 books in physics. Till date, Ma'am has successfully organized several entrepreneurship awareness workshops, workshops for innovative experiments in physics, guest lectures, webinars, and an international symposium at Agrawal PG College. Presently, she is also executive member of Indian Association of Physics Teachers (RPC). She has been a recipient of 12 national level awards and scholarships, including from Ministry of Human Resource Department Platinum Jubilee Appreciation Award in Physics Science at IIT Mumbai from National Academies of Science, India and Jaipur Ratna Samman for research. It is we are very honored to host you, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming. It is my humble request to all the participants to not unmute yourself during the session. If you have any queries, please paste it on the chat box. Ma'am will resolve it. Ma'am will resolve it after the session. With that, I hand over this platform to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for a humble introduction, Dr. Rishi Bhargav. And at the onset, let me even thank Dr. Devanshu Srivastava for giving me an opportunity to interact with this audience. So I'm really, really thankful to the Jagran Lake City, University Bhopal, Droid Panel Group, Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center, Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teaching and Innovation, Ministry of Education, Government of India. And in fact, I'm really, really thankful to all these audience who are present, eager to listen my presentations on these tips for effective research writing and reporting after a delicious, tasty, hopefully sumptuous lunch. And I know it is really, really very difficult to keep you engaged into such a keep you focused and engaged into such a discussion and such a presentation. But I assure you that the opportunity interested on me is basically to redraw the sketch of 25 years, which I spent into teaching as well as doing research. So this is what I'm going to give is the journey, what I have gone through, how I started when I was perplexed, and now as a established researchers, how do I look at the scene? So before I start my whole presentation, I just wanted to understand the type of audience I have, because when you don't know the type of audience you have, you are putting a presentation to an audience, but it is just like writing a book or writing a love letter and then addressing to whomsoever it is concerned. So I believe that my audience are of 2 types. They are all from the academics background. So they are 2 types. Either they are renowned teachers who have spent a lot of time into teaching and now they just want to refresh themselves into the latest what is coming out. So I hope my discussions, my presentation help them all around into this 1 hour really, really benefits them. And then I feel the other part of the audience that would be present there would be the no voice. They have just cleared the net and have entered into the academics field. They have not done their PhD, so they are not very much clear what a research paper look like, how to actually undertake a research project or research dealing, how to write a research report, right? So I'm going to come with the very, very basics, which most of them will say we know it, but for the novice it is must. And then lead it to the latest trends with all those academic tools, simulators, which are required to design the research in nowadays, right? I'm from a background of science, but I'll try to put all the efforts which can help people all around with humanities, social science and things. I hope this really brings successful and present. Why it is not moving to the next? So when we start, what is a research paper, and we are going to discuss why to write a research paper, what are the components of a good research paper, and what all steps should one take to get it published in a good journal. Okay, so why to write a research paper? I think the academic requirements are there. It is required to fetch your attention and recognition. You require it to stand in your profession, to acquire fundings from the research projects, to have lubricating collaborators and career opportunities. Basically, research gives you a good recognition in your academics and in your society. So you need to take up research for the purpose of standing in your profession, to do honesty and justice with the profession you're going to. So how to take up research and how to write a research paper? Now we come down with the very basic definition of what research is. Research is a French word, the searcher and a prefix with re. The manipulation of the things, the concepts for the purpose of generalizing, to extend them, to correct them, to verify the knowledge, whether that knowledge aids in construction of theory or in practice. We put it in terms of research. If you look at the word itself, it is research. You're not doing anything which is not already present. You are searching which is already there. The evolution of mankind, if we say, it's not a contribution of a single person, right? It is a result of efforts of many, many generations to generation. Now, way back, what Aristotle or Socrates said thousands and thousands of years ago, Galileo comes and he says, see, that bunch of stuff that you said needs some of addition. And then Copernicus comes and he picks up the things what Galileo says. And then it comes up with the Newton, that no, things have to be absolute in that fashion. And then Einstein comes and say, no, things are not absolute, they are relative in that fashion. But Einstein, who is the most famous scientist of this generation, is yet not the correct one. It requires Pauli, Schrodinger, Sommerfeld, Rutherford, Thomson, a list of scientists to be said to actually manifest the edifice, which further will be broken by the generations to come. So research is not that it is something you are giving a path-breaking thing. It is something, a path has been built and you go along following the path and give what actually is something innovative that you have realized in your journey, right? So when you write a research paper, basically you are preparing a report at the end of a research that you have taken up, finding through a series of scientific experiments or a field studies, the surveys you have done, or some things based on the experiments or the observations, communicating it to a specific audience. You during that report, what you do is you basically explain the experimental designs, the results that you have obtained, how you interpret those results, the significance of those results or those data that you have collected, and the future implications of all those data. And who are going to read all that, or who are going to be audience? They are generally belonging to that particular community, the people who are working in the same or related field. We come down to a very notion. Yes.
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
sorry to
the
interrupt.
slides, yeah, you just need to change the slides, ma'am. The slides are not changing and it's not visible to the participants.
They are changing at my end. They are changing at my
Ma'am,
end.
request if you can just once, can you please
Yes.
restart sharing
Okay,
your
I'll
screen?
do
Can you
that.
please
So
stop
for
sharing
that,
once and then- yes,
stop sharing.
once.
Okay, I'll
Yes,
just
ma'am.
stop sharing. How to stop share it? It is not showing
Ma'am,
me.
I'll, on the top center.
It is new
Okay,
share.
I'll,
Okay,
yeah, ma'am,
okay,
I have stopped sharing
Yes.
it. Can you please reshare it once?
okay. To reshare, I have to come to
Go for the share screen.
share screen is not there coming out. Yeah, it is now. Yeah, it is there. So I come here. Okay, share. And now see whether it is changing. Just a minute.
Ma'am,
Just
can
a
you
minute. Give
just
me time.
run the, yes, ma'am. Can you please run the PPT once? Yeah, ma'am.
I
Now
have
it's
to run
changed.
it. Yeah,
I
it
would
is
request if you
changing.
can start sharing with the slideshow itself.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Right,
Yeah,
please.
now is
Yes,
it? Yeah, okay. It is
No, ma'am,
working.
it's not.
It is
It
not
is not
working?
working, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Just a minute, that means I've got your point. When I slide share it on the maximum, it is not showing you the changes
Yes.
in the slides. But if I go with this way, it is showing you. So should I go with
Yes,
this
ma'am.
fashion?
You can
Is it
continue,
okay?
We can continue this way as well. Perfect, ma'am.
It's okay? Fine. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We are presently at slide number 5.
Yeah, fine.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. Please.
I hope.
Sorry for the inconvenience, ma'am. Please continue.
I hope audience could still connect with me without the change in the slide.
Yes,
Fine.
ma'am. I guess
So
that is fine. But for the further slides, everybody would be able to connect.
Yeah. Okay. No, I just meant I don't have to repeat anything because it was just an introductory part. Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's come on to for research. What are the components of a research paper? The components of a research papers are basically the titles, the authors and the affiliations, abstracts, keywords, introduction, the literature review, methods, methodologies, results and discussion, conclusions, acknowledgements, references, and appendix. For that purpose, basically, I had a link, but that link is going to work only when we work with the slide viewer. I'll leave that for instance. Let's go ahead. So where and how to begin with the research part, right? It is a metaphorism, and so how to start? To start with any topic, we need to look things that interest us, right? Anything that interests us, from which we can still learn, not too difficult one for which one can find relevant references, one that aims at general reading, one where we can find some average reader, not too broad. Simple things, a drawing room talks. For example, a very simple proverb, early to bed, early to rise. Now, this simple saying can be a basis for research also. How? You just now conclude this broad statement, just start narrowing it. You look at the sleeping habits of people in different age groups. So this becomes a prospects for research. Okay, this is just an example. So when you start broad, very vague, very general, but constantly you start getting through things, making them narrower. You start focusing upon the specific type or class. For example, I gave you the sleeping habits. So sleeping habits of the old age people, sleeping habits of the newborn children, right? That way. So you specify the type or the class, then you can, in your research, this is just another example. We can take another example, the place or a region. So when you're talking about the historical importance of a place, for example, you're talking about the beautiful Pink City, you will talk about Jaipur. So your study now relates to the historical evidence of the beautification of Jaipur. And if you're talking about Lake City, Bhopal, so your research will more concise towards Bhopal. So the place, region, time period, the sociality, the legalities, the economic part, political, philosophical, scientific, you can just segregate them through, right? So for example, I have said early to bed, early to rise, or the sleeping habits. So now how to narrow them down? The sleeping habits and the academic performance of the college going students. So this can be a part of research, right? So there you can have the demographic data. Now you can even more narrow it only for the students of the higher education. College going students will be a very big profile, right? Now you can put it more narrow to the college going IITian students. There the trend is to get work even at night. So what are the academic performances? Are they going better? Are they going down? So all those things, the bedtime before classes, the wake up time before classes, how much time they take before sleep, whether they are taking naps, whether they are satisfied with the sleeps, whether they are staying up for the job or for any other project work or not. These would be the certain criteria, and that will create the narrowing of the research topic for you and help you build your research work. So all these observations will be near your topic. So getting down your topic, a working title, okay, your working topic, it is not the final topic, but you start with the working title, and around the whole thing, you start making the things. So how do you gather the materials? You start taking the observations that I said, for example, whether these IITians, they nap into the class or they don't, and how much academically sound do they feel when they are into the class, if they are not taking the proper sleeps. So those observations, and how to get those observations, go for the questionnaire, build a questionnaire, an interview sort of a thing. Build all those 50 to 60 questions which will be around your research. So that is going to give you the inputs where you can develop the results out of them. So if it is a scientific research, the experimentations are there. Even when we are doing a scientific research and doing a research, for example, we need to prepare Fe2O3 nanoparticles or ZNO nanoparticles. Preparing of those nanoparticles will be done by so many ways. Microwave methods would be there, the servothermal process would be there, the solution cast method would be there, the sol gel method would be there. Now, which method is the better one? You need to give a concise review of that, and you need to understand which method you can adopt at your place, which will be easier, cost effective for you. So where they are doing a research in humanities or in the science, you have to go with the basic model of these things, which is called either experimentation or the questionnaire, right? Then you move into the library. People have already done work over there. Look for the special bulletins and reports, serve from the internet. That is the best way nowadays to get things done. Most of the journal articles are there on the internet available to you. You can gather the material from there. To start research, I would always say, once you have finalized your topic, get at least 50 such articles which are related to your topics. Once you have taken those 50, from those 50, choose those 10 articles which are totally narrowing to your topic itself. So that helps us to build your abstract, your introduction, your methodologies, your results, everything. So this is how you can gather the material which helps you out. So once you have gathered all that, this is going to take around 4 to 5 months for doing all these works. And that now gives you an experience to handle things. And while you're doing all these things, you need to jot down every aspect you have been coming into mind. Maybe right now it is not relevant. It can be relevant later on. So just keep handy things with you. So initiate all those things and always draw a preliminary outline. Every day you need to, when you're working, you need to write those ideas of the topics that need information. You have to write all those important questions that you are going to address into the papers, and jot down what seems to be the major divisions of the subject. That is going to create the sections of your paper. So these are just homework aspect of the things when you are working for your research work paper, right? How to jot them down, right? So here what all you need to look for is use MS Word, because here it helps you to rewrite. You don't have to, you don't have to rewrite. You can just copy paste. You can just re-edit it most of the times, right? Cover one subject on one page or one MS Word file. That is also one way, because when you're reading out 10 publications, 10 articles, right? And all those things which are similar, put them together from different articles you have taken, put them into one part, so that out of those 5 to 6 things which correlate with each other, you can just develop some sort of correlation and write them into your own words into something. So always cover the subject on one page. When you're doing this, always cite the exact source, because that is very, very important. Later, when you're going to look for, when you're going to finalize your paper, when you're referencing the paper, it is very important to know from which place, from which exact source did you take this particular aspect. So this is very important for those who are going to write the first research papers. Use direct quotation if you want to use author's work verbatim. If you're using, especially with the students of law, when you're putting the case studies and the verdict of the judgments, you need to put them verbatim, word by word, it has to be followed. So you have to put them into double quotes. This is very, very important. That's why I have put double quotes with me. Whatever you are putting with these verdicts, you are not changing the words. You have to give the due credit to the author, otherwise it is going to be claimed under plagiarism. So put those double quotations. And here, well, let me tell you one more thing. publication ethic doesn't really involves only with the plagiarism part also. There are certain other things which should be taken care with the publication ethics. One is whatever you're working with the institution, your work has to be got approved by the institution. The institution should be aware, especially with the cases where people are working in the field of biotechnology and medicines, where animals are also involved, where plantations are involved. The institution where we are working has to be known about the whereabouts of our research, what we are taking care of. Then the survey we are carrying, the respondent consent regarding the survey is mandatory. It should be always there. The confidentiality of the respondent, that is very, very requirement. We need to maintain all these types. And one more thing, what we have most of the time encountered is the type of data we present there. Be authentic with the data. Data fabrication should be avoided. It should never be tried upon. It is always a wrong practice. It is against publication ethics. People say data redundancy has been done, data duplicacy has been done, but they will all be caught up, and please avoid doing all that things. So avoid doing data fabrication part or the manipulation part, and believe in the publication ethics to be followed. Okay, let's also touch up the part, what is plagiarism. I'm not going to go into the details of it because it itself will make one long presentation for that. I'm just going to give anything which is easier to cut, copy, and paste. That is what way we do not give credit to the author. We do not acknowledge from where the information we are presenting has been taken, whether it is a data, whether it is a table or a figure, anything. Whether we had done it with our knowing or we have done it without doing it deliberately. So that all will be constituting into plagiarism, and one should avoid plagiarism. In no case should one use plagiarism. So what to do to avoid plagiarism, right? One is be original, write in your own words. When you are studying 50 research papers, out of which you have selected 10 research papers, now you have mastered the art of writing and you understand the way of putting up your things in your own words, right? Apart from that, don't use the direct quote, use paraphrasing. Now, what do paraphrasing means? For example, I'll just give you an example. There is a direct quote. Japan's beautiful Mount Fuji last erupted in 1707 and is now dormant, but it may erupt in future, right? This is a direct quote. Now, when you are paraphrasing it, what you can do it, you can just put it in your own words. Mount Fuji, the highest mountain in Japan, is actually a dormant volcano. Dormant volcano shows no sign of activity. The last time Mount Fuji erupted was in 1707, and its possibility of future eruption is always there. So you're conveying the same sense, but the words are not the same. So what you need to do is change of words is required, right? So paraphrasing is very important. Keep the quotes short, give only that information which is needed to identify the source, and you don't need to cite the information that comes under the common knowledge. This is how one can just avoid plagiarism. So once you have come to that, now start determining the basic format. Create a research paper outline, list the key topics, arguments and evidences, divide the sections into headings. So you have collected all these things, start writing the first draft of the research paper. Definitely you have working for now, it has been working for the 4-5 months, 6 months around. So you have got many things collected with you. So you can now draft your research paper. While drafting your first paper, it won't come out to be as a perfect. Don't worry, you can always polish it later. Pay attention while drafting it to clear organization and logical ordering of the paragraphs and sentences. This is something which is most of the reviewers comes up, that your English is not correct in terms of grammar as well as vocabulary. So even while you're framing your first draft, you can now look up into those things. and express your ideas as clearly as possible and keep continuity of those ideas into your paper, right? So once your first draft has been made, you are satisfied with it. Most of the time, the first draft is not that polished, so you always require the second check or the second draft. Check vision of the paper lines up with the first draft, whether that all those questions which you had started with your research part, really, you had said, these are the questions I need to address in my research, whether they have all been addressed or not. The papers answer all the assignments you have taken up or not. You identify all the assumptions that you require, give the justification, remove if you cannot substantiate a point any further, reorganize, rearrange again your ideas, check whether any section feels out of place, remove it. And here I would suggest, now once the second draft has been made, you get feedback from your peers, the research group you have joined, the people around which work into this field. And while you're working into this region, and when you have collected 50 research papers, you have come to know that these are the certain people who are working in these fields, and all these people have shared their email IDs. So you can choose certain people who are working into a field and ask them to give a feedback on the work you're doing. So that will definitely help you to get through your paper. So once you have done that, I am sure your time has come down for publishing of your paper. So this was the part that was for the novice people who have started, who haven't yet started with the research. So I come down to now those things where we need to publish our paper, culminating our efforts. So we need to look for the title and the authors and the affiliation. Now this is very important. We have drawn a second draft. Now we are assured of what actually we are going to present into our research publication. We have now decided where we need to go for publication. So now the working title will go, and the exact title. Now title has to be very, very precise. It should provide the main gist of our work, what we have presented into our research submission. And here, the authors and the affiliation which we are giving, we should be very clear in regarding the authors, because while we are submitting our paper, the journal publication would require all the authors who are in co-authors and their approvals. And it will also ask you what sort of contribution or what sort of involvement each author had into that paper. So we should be very, very much clear regarding that, whom all we need to, and this is very important when we are doing a project work. If it is an individual research, it doesn't make a large difference, because it is our choice whom all we can contribute to and whom all to give acknowledgement to. But when you are working with a project within an institution, it is very important to realize who all are going to be the authors into this particular paper submission, right? And the abstract. Usually the abstract comes at the topmost of the research paper, but this is the thing which we write at the last, once we have written down our second draft. This and the revision that we have done from the peers' suggestions, what we have got. This is the time now we write the abstract, which is going to be published into our research paper at the topmost. The abstract has to summarize the entire thing, and this is very important. It should convey what our actually paper is going to talk about, what is the significance of our study, what are the methodologies we have adopted, what are the results, and how our results are significant within a word frame of 150 to 250, depending on the journal requirement. Our abstract has to come. So this abstract is very important. Again, it is important because when you are going to search, when anybody else is going to cite your paper or search your paper, they are made aware only with your abstract. So this abstract has to be very informative, very concise, and it should help people to understand the significance of your work. Then comes down your keywords. Normally, any journal is going to ask you 4 to 5 keywords. Keywords are those phrases which will capture the important aspect of the paper, and they're really, really very significant when you're going to put down those keywords. For example, I'm a person who is working with the electromagnetic interference. As soon as I put this word, definitely things related to my name are going to, the paper which have been published through my name in these works will be popping out on the social sites. So this is how the research paper starts looking. This year I've just put up my paper itself. So you have the title, you have the affiliations of the authors, the abstracts and the keywords, right? Okay, now we come to the introduction part of the paper. The introduction part of the paper, now I should say, is the most important aspect of the paper. Why I say so? Because this is the one where from which the paper is accepted or rejected, right? What all should the introduction part contain? The introduction part of the paper should be a compelling body of the text. What it contains, it definitely addresses 3 questions: what, why, and how, right? Specific about the background of the paper, it defines the key terms or the concept, or those definitions are going to come around. What new materials or insights which are we offering to the our audience? What important issues are we going to essay them out? And how? What is the roadmap? What is the methodology we have used? Is all these 3 questions are being addressed into the introduction part. Here, most of the journals, they have their way of either they include the literature review within the same framework of the introduction, or they will ask you to give another section of literature review. This literature review is very, very significant. You need to put literature review of last 10 years into this, specifically of the work which has been around your work, what other people, what other researchers think, what are their opinion, what are their results and findings, and how your work is different from their findings, and how your work is significant as compared to your work. And at least 30 to 40 referencing should be done into this literature review part, because that is going to make it more significant part of your acceptance of the paper or rejection of the paper. Now we come to the methodology part of this. Here we normally discuss the type of method used for presenting our research work. For example, if we are preparing the nanoparticles, so what sort of method, what sort of experiment have we used the Sol-Gel method, then what amount of quantities, from where did we apply the material, and those are going to be put. If we are working in the field of humanities, the type of questionnaire that we have been choosing, the hypothesis we have been putting, all those things have to be mentioned here in this part of the methodology. We need to put the null hypothesis, we need to put the affirmative hypothesis, we need to explain the entire research approach, the strategy that we have involved into doing this work, whether this should actually explain whether our work was qualitative or quantitative. And here I think we should always use certain scientific tool, the SSPS tools should be used for the purpose of the data collection, and we should ensure the reliability of the data collection into this methodology part. The questionnaire, if we are preparing, what sort of scaling we are doing, are we using the Likert scale? The Likert scale is very popular one, which has a scale of strongly agree to strongly disagree sort of things. Here one needs to explain the population, the sample size, the discussion of the conceptual model, the survey instruments that have been taken into consideration. So all that is very, very, very significant in terms of doing the methodology part. Here, when one is expressing in terms of the research methodology, you can share the certain questionnaire part. You can even share the case studies that you have referred to. You can share the experimental procedures in terms of certain flow charts and diagrams. So these things would be really very requirement. This is the basic part of your research paper. Now we come to the results and discussion part. What should be put here? Here you analyze the data and interpret the data, what you have obtained. Okay. This is very important. What sort of statistical tools you have used to interpret the data? What sort of correlation coefficients you have drawn? Because that is going to justify the study you have done. So it is important that you put your data, you do certain statistical correlations, regressions, and ANOVA analysis on them, get those results, whether those results are within the level of significances you wanted to reach to, or they are out of that. That means you're getting a negative result or a positive result. You need to come out with that. While presenting your results, it is not that you just may put your results. You have to discuss the basic reasons behind them, why such results are flowing out, what interpretations you draw from such results that are flowing out, and you need to give comparative analysis of the results other researchers have done during their research finding in this particular aspect. So it is very, very significant in this results and discussion section. You need to be very, see, there are two ways, places where you're putting the references. One is the introduction part, where you say the other people, they have other researchers, they have done this particular research, and these methods they have adopted, and these are the results. When you're doing the result part and you are getting a result, now you have to compare your results with those researchers and say whether your results are in good agreement with them, and hence you justify the proposed theory. Or you may say, no, my results are different, are in disagreement with those results, and the reason being what is, there were certain lacunae in their collections and mine is better in this fashion, or whatever reason. So you need to give explanations for your results, what you are getting. The analysis part should contain that. The comparative analysis of the results will be a big reason for the acceptance or not acceptance of the paper. So once those results have been drafted, now you can just draw down the conclusion. Now, how conclusion is different from the abstract? Normally, my students always ask me, abstract also one need to write summary of what you have done and conclusions. Abstract, you just write down that this is the significance of my work and this is the method I've adopted to get certain things. Conclusion, you write the results that have been obtained through the work you have done. This is how both the things get different. So you list down the conclusions drawn from the study. You suggest the future course of research also through these conclusions. Conclusion doesn't mean this all I have done and this is sufficient. These things are certain lacunae which I couldn't adopt because of whatever barriers were there. And if these are adopted, certain things can be done in the future course of research. So you have to mention the possible yield of such works, where such things can be used, all things, these things, the significance means the application part of those things. So this research, what I have done, how it is significant for that place, where I can use them, all this has to be mentioned into the conclusion part. Yet another thing is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement here means we need to express the research gratitude to those all who have provided significant technical help, the agencies who have sponsored our projects, the laboratories where we had performed our experiments or the equipments we have obtained too. Now I come to the most significant part, that is the referencing. The referencing is a pattern of writing, depends upon the kind of the journal in which we are going to publish. Most of the two common type of referencing is, one is the name year system or the Harvard system. Herein what you do is the text will consist of the author's name and the source data within parentheses. That means if you are citing my paper, you're going to put BAFNA 2021, right? And the other part is citation sequence system. Here, the texts are made by the way of numbers, which are ordered sequentially throughout the text. In this particular part, you start putting your citation with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 like that. And the citation which you have used in the very first part will become 1. And so on, you're going to use them along through your paper. And if you repeat them, you're just going to use the same number for that for any aspect. Now, this referencing is very, very significant because each journal has its own ways of referencing. And if you don't follow those guidelines, the paper is rejected in the pre-process part of it. Now, what is pre-process? I'm going to discuss while I'm going to discuss my next part, that is the submission of the article. The pre-process part itself, because it is a computer operated system, so it is going to reject the paper itself if we do not follow the guidelines of putting the referencing part. So what ways of putting a journal article, what ways of citing a journal review article, what ways of citing a thesis, what way of citing a book, all those procedures are always mentioned into the guidelines to the authors. One need to read them and obey the guidelines. All those guidelines are different for different journal. Now that is what creates a difference. That is what creates really a problem for a researcher. For one particular journal, you are writing it, the year is coming forward and page number is coming at the last. For the other journal, when you're writing the same reference, the year is coming at the last and the page numbers are coming in the between. So there are certain softwares, for example, Mendeley, where you just put down this citation for once. After that, whenever you're going to require the citation, it is going to put in terms of the journal requirement. So such techniques, such software should be used for referencing part. That is going to be very, very beneficial. It is going to make you less labor extensive and help you to make it easier for you to put your referencing part. And even those things, mainly when all those when you're using, they are all computer software. So what actually we get is the commas and the semicolons and what all we miss while putting it, so that our papers get out of the pre submission process itself is all avoided. So all these type of software should be used. Now I come to the part which is you would be looking more forward to. That is how to really submit to a journal and what all softwares have come upon and how to find them. Okay, so that is selection of a journal. So you have decided your research topic, you have prepared a manuscript, a rough draft or second draft of that manuscript. You are aware with all those things. Now what to do? Go to any of a journal finder, journal suggester, journal selector. Each different publication house has its own journal finders help. Go to Google. If you're going to submit to Elsevier, you're going to go for Elsevier, you go for journal finder. If you're going to look into Springer, go for journal suggester. There's so many. I have shown it on the screen: Google Scholar, Web of Science master list. You have the name estimator, you have the Flourish OA, ThinkCheck. Most popular with these people around is the journal finder and the journal suggester. How to work with them? If you go to the journal suggester, journal finder for Elsevier, okay. If you open, this is how it looks like. It is going to ask you the paper title. You have already decided with that. So enter your paper title there. Then it is going to ask you the abstract of the paper. Put the abstract there. Right? You have already written them. So the abstract is going to be just cut, copied and paste over here. The title is going to be cut, copied, paste over here. The keywords, put them here. Now you go for the search. Here, if you want certain sort of advanced searching, the options are available here. But at present, you are just starting with it. Go with this limited information: the title of your paper, the abstract of your paper, and the keywords of your paper. And it will give you a list of all those research journals which have the scope for your research work. So it has become really very easy finding a journal which is suitable for your research work. Whether you go with a journal selector or with the find journal aspect, whichever software you look forward to, they will give you a list of journals which are suitable, which go along with your research work. And what you find, I'm just giving you this. If I'm looking through the Springer part, see, this is the information it gives me with the research. It gives me what all? It gives me the impact factor. It gives me the 5-year impact factor. It gives me the a submission, how many days it is going to take for the first decision with the submission. It gives me the acceptance days, how many days it is going to take for acceptance. So you can just make an idea. If you're in a hurry, look for those journals which takes lesser time to publish within that period. And here there are two things which are important to decide. One is the impact factor. If you are going to go for the Web of Sciences, you have the impact factor. And if you go for the Elsevier, you have the site score. Here you can see it on the screen. You have the site score and you have the impact factor. What are they? They are not different things. They are two matrices for the evaluation of the impact of the journals, right? And what is the difference between the two? Most of the time, the students have that question into their mind. Basically, the years to calculate is different for them. The access to computational data, that is different. And the number of journals covered is different. Web of Science created the impact factor. Somewhere in 1950s, it came around. And it contains 2-year windows for evaluating the time, right? So the data compiled from the WS database, the Web of Science database, it is around 11,000 journals. So somewhere around 2.2 million articles each year, right? And CiteScore, it was launched very, very recently, 2016 by Elsevier. The type of articles it accepts has a wider range as compared to Web of Science. It has 22,800 journals for consideration for indexing purpose. So that is how they are different. Otherwise, they give you the same relevance, that is the ranking of the journal's relative significance. One more thing here is significant. When you are going for the finding of the site score or the impact factor, see, if you're going to look for the medical journals or something from biotechnology side, the impact factor of those journals will be very high, above 10, above 12 even. But if you go through the humanities part, social sciences part, even a journal of impact factor of 2 will be very good to address to. You can start even with that. It is a popular journal. So if one needs to understand what actually an impact factor is, it is basically calculated by dividing the number of citations in the journal year by the total number of articles published in the 2 previous years. For example, if you want to get the 2021 impact factor for a journal, then you need to have 2 datas. One, A, the number of times the article had been published in 2019 and 20 and were cited in the index. Let us assume that it was supposed for the journal 4,750. And B is the number of citable items published in the last 2 years. Let us assume it is somewhere 3891. So that impact factor for that particular journal will become 1.22, A divided by B. Now, what actually information it is giving, this mathematics, what information it is giving? It means, or I should say, we have an impact factor of 1. It simply means on an average, the article publishes 1 or 2 years ago have been cited 1 or 2 times. There are some more indexing parameters which normally the authors have understanding to, they should understand. One is the H index and one is the I-10 index. Now, what is H index? Now, H index, if you have, suppose, let me say you have an H index of 14, right? Now, that simply means 14 articles of yours have been cited by at least 14 times. So that H index is that. If your H index is 4, it simply means 4 articles of yours have been cited at least 4 times. Now, how is I-10 different? I-10 index is different. It will say articles, the I-10 number, suppose I-10 number is 6. It will say 6 times, 6 articles that have been cited for 10 times. So these are certain indexing parameters which helps us to evaluate our standing of our research papers. And that is how we decide which journal to be chosen for. In India, we have the UGC CARE list, the list group 1, choose journals from there. UGC CARE list 2, we have the UGC CARE list 2 where all the Scopus and the SCImago indexed journals are there. They are from the Web of Sciences and the Scopus ones. The Web of Sciences, we have all those Arts and Humanities Citation Index ones, the Social Sciences Citation Index one. You just go there and search your paper, search the name, the journal by the name. Now here I should always suggest the audience, before submission, always look into a journal. Most of the journals on their website will claim that they are Scopus Index, they are Web of Science Index, they are indexed by the UGC CARE list groups. Do not believe. Go to the website of the Web of Science, go to the Scopus website, put the name of the journal there by their ISSN number and search them. If the journal exists into those indexing terms, they would be cited there. If they are not there, you would be clear that these are the predatory journals. So it is not advisable to publish in the predatory journals. So now you have identified the type of journal you have to find. Now you are ready with the finalized paper. Go for the accuracy of the figures and the captions, get a feedback, be particular for the journal submission criteria, the formats they are required, go through a thorough understanding of the journal terms and condition, get a fair idea of everything, the style, the tone of their writing, and go for the submission. Now, what does submission requires? It requires your email address, your name, the title, the abstract, the keywords, the manuscript, and a cover letter to be provided where you have to highlight all the significances of your paper. Another aspect that they ask during the submission process is the name of possible reviewers. How to get those possible reviewers. If you are working into a research group, definitely your peers are going to help you around for that. If you're not working with a research group, the 50 papers that you have cited for your work, out of which the 10 papers you have looked forward to, take reviewers from them. The authors of those papers can be good reviewers because they are, in terms of work, similar to what you have been doing. So you can be able to provide the reviewers from them. Approval of the co-authors is very, very important when you submit a paper, right? So that has to also go with the copyright aspect of the paper. And this is how the submission process goes. Now, when you are submitting a paper, there are certain things. I said, if you do not obey the guidelines of the paper submission process, which is always mentioned into the journal's website, the paper will be not taken into consideration in the very pre-processed manner. It will be held up until and unless you comply with the style of submission required by that journal. So that pre-process is a computer operated part. It is going to ask you the process that is required into their terms of the journal's term, and you have to submit it into as and what required by them. Then there is a peer review process. So once you have submitted the paper and you have cleared the pre-process part through the editorial manager, you submit and you have got it. It is being submitted to the editor. Now, once it reaches to the editor, okay, it will move to, he has the right to outstandingly reject the paper or accept the paper. So if he feels it can be accepted it is within the scope of his journal, and he proceeds it for the reviewers. Now there are certain conditions. What is open review, blind review, and double review, and triple blind review also. So open review process, here the authors and the reviewers, they know each other, right? The reviewers are being acknowledged to the authors, and the authors are also aware who the reviewers are. So that is an open review process. Now, this is a very transparent process, right? But what happens is it is claimed as a biased one. So it is very less adopted. Most of the time, any journal is going to claim that it is a blind review process. Now, blind review, the details of the reviewer will not be shared to the authors. They will be kept hidden to the authors. Double blind, the authors and reviewers both will be anonymous. They won't know each other. So the biasness figure that goes away. And to be more unbiased, certain journals, they will have triple blind review, and that will become what? The editor is also unknown of the author. So that is a triple blind review process. Now, what happens is, should we go for the review process or not? Now, there is one part. Certain people will go for a preprint server process also. Now, what is a preprint publication or preprint server process? You have a very popular site. I have put the site over here, archive, arxiv.org. Now, what happens is, you can put the paper here. The paper here will be only moderated. It won't be reviewed, right? The blind review process won't be there. It will only be moderated. And it will be open for the other people to see it. So it will attract the citation part. It will attract the audience. You will have a good exposure of the audience. But the point here is, it is not going to attract API for you. And that is the reason preprint servers are not being most popular among the authors. Because since it has not been moderated, it is accepted and it has been published, but it is not then accepted even in API. Right? And here one more thing I could add up if I have time. Do I have time with me? Okay.
Yes.
I may. One thing is, if you want to know the details about the predatory journals, there is a Bally's list. Bally was basically a librarian who compiled all those journals which are fake, which claim that they are under Scopus or under Web of Sciences and all that. And he have prepared a whole list of that. And you have a predatoryjournal.org. You can go onto the website, put the name of the journal there, the ISSN number over there, and you can find out whether your journal is predatory or it is a valid one. Once you have submitted your paper, you are okay. Now, interesting thing is, while you're submitting, you need to create your research profile. That is going to give you credits. So how to create your research profile? The most popular one is the Google Scholar one. Within the Google aspect, go for Scholar part of Google, create your profile, add all those research articles which have been published your name, and that adds up to your credits. ResearchGate is another way of becoming popular among your researchers. The Web of Sciences gives you Publon. ORCID ID. This is very, very important. It is a 16-digit number similar to your Aadhaar card. If you're publishing, you need to have an ORCID ID. This makes it very easy for you to get through the journals. So create an ORCID ID for your publication submissions, for further publication submissions. How to go for them? Just type on Google Publons or ORCID and the ORCID ID, how to go for it. The steps would be coming. Just fill your details. They ask you normally your name, your affiliations, your email IDs, and the research area of interest. And if papers you have already published, then they are going to put all your research data into one part. The Indian part of this is Vidwan. You can even use that. The Indian government has created Vidwan for your research profile creation. And nowadays, connecting with people through a resume has become older now. We connect through Google Scholar, ResearchGate, or Publon, or ORCID ID, or latest is the Vidwan. So I encourage all of you to use all that. And I suppose that I'm done with all the things which I have. I thank you all for that. And if there are questions, they should come up. And I hope I would be able to answer all them along.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, there is a query by
Yes.
Professor Dr. V.V. Meenakshi Jayakumar.
Yes.
To find UGC listed genres related to music.
if I could just hear the question, UGC journals
related to music. Where to find?
Where to find? Okay, where to find? Yes, yes. To music, what you can do is just go to the journal, find, select. See, I have shown you the screen. You can have a screenshot of the screen. These are all these journals. Go to the journal finder, go to the journal suggester, go to the EndNote Match, go to Google Scholar, whichever website you feel easy with. There they are going to ask you only three things. The title of your paper. So you have designed your title. There you have, if it is of Hindi, I am doubtful they accept it, because they accept Chinese, they accept 17 languages, but I'm not sure of Hindi because I have not tried it. Maybe Hindi must be there or not, I'm not sure of that, right? But in English, if there is, then you can put the title of the paper, the abstract. They will list you all those journals which are related. So if it is music, you can even search that. I hope it satisfies.
Ma'am, they have just raised another query, English or Tamil?
English or?
Tamil. Tamil.
English or Tamil? Yeah, Tamil is there. I'm sure Tamil is there. I was not sure with Hindi because I have not tried.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Any other question?
If anyone has another query, please write it in the chat box.
Yes.
I think, ma'am, there is no queries.
Ah,
Thank you so
I
much.
think
You have explained very well, ma'am. Very beautiful.
I'm not sure. I think either they haven't heard it, so they don't have any query.
This is not the case.
But anyways, I hope it really helps them around. I would just summarize into three things.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Yes, I just would like to summarize into three parts. One is, while you're writing the introduction, put as many references related to your work. That is the reason where you're rejected or accepted. When you're putting your results, please put comparative analysis with the references you have mentioned into the introduction. That is the very reason for your rejection or approval of the paper. And finally, the third thing I would say is, if the paper comes for revision, don't get, or even if it is rejected, don't get dismayed because of that, because when they reject or revise, give you for revision, they give you reasons for that. So they are the people who tell you, these are the lacunae, work on that and you will be accepted, right? So I think this, if one takes into care, papers would be flowing on each year.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we'll wind up the session now.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us the
Welcome.
host you. And we are
Thank you
very
very much.
honored that you're present in this very informative session. And thank you for every participant who are being patient and listen very carefully and enthusiastically. Because of your presence, this session has become successful. And lastly, I would like to thank Jagran Lake City University, our Droid Panel Group, and Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center, Ministry of Education, Government of India, for giving us this platform to learn new things. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.